There you
Hey
go.
guys, welcome to Shadows in the North YouTube channel for our second hangout, although I'm not sure which order we're actually going to publish these in. I'm Malasar, I'm here with Kernian, or Joe and Gaddy if you prefer. Tonight we're talking hobby, what's kind of going on with us, and then we want to jump in and just talk about end times for a while. Why don't you get us started off with hobby chat?
All right. So, in terms of hobby, as we're talking about in the Escalation League, I'm currently focused on my Demons of Corn. As I said before, they were my first army I ever did. I have all these, like, I think I have like 50 old school 5th edition Bloodletters of Corn, a bunch of 6th edition Heralds, or a bunch of 6th edition horrors. I have 10 old Metal Flesh Hounds, 4 old Metal Juggernauts, and an old Metal Bloodthirster. And so I mean, they were my first army. They were like the first army that kind of drew me into Warhammer. First army I ever completed. I just really wanted to do a good job repainting them. So right now, what I've been doing in the hobby is stripping them down using since they're metal, I can use acetone, which makes it really easy. Just get some nail polish remover, throw them in, dunk them in for like 20 minutes. Comes out and it's like not. It doesn't even. It melts like not only the paint, but it's also undoes all like the crappy gluing that I did when I was 12 years old, which is a nice touch.
Handle.
So the models come
Yeah.
apart, so I get to like re-glue them and like fill in the mold lines properly. They're like filed on the mold lines and like fill in all the gaps in those old metal models that they used to have with green stuff like you should. Um, Also, like working on doing a creative, better basing on them. Just really kind of making the army look up to par with what I can do now. And I haven't completed a new army, I guess, since last army. I mean, I completed my elves, but I really wasn't happy. I made so many strides while repainting that army back in like 2011, 2010, or 2011, 2012 was when I was painting that army, and I just learned so much just through coming back into the hobby and repainting that. That like it's very easy to tell which are my first models and which were my last. So I just kind of wanted to where I am now as a painter, just start to finish, just knock it out quickly. So I'm getting everything prepped. When I'm done my last exam in a week and a half, I'll have 3 weeks off, and my goal is in those 3 weeks to paint up a full 3K of demons, which sounds a lot, but it's demons, so it's actually not that many models.
Right.
How
So.
about yourself?
Well, I've been mostly working on rebasing my elf army. Because it was just kind of like basing was an afterthought after going through and like converting and then painting everything to a pretty high, standard for myself. The basing was just kind of like, sand, grass, some flowers, some rocks, nothing too exciting. So I went and got a ton of slate bases off the internet, or slate bases. Got a lot of slate off the internet, and then I like brought up the flowers more so that the bases just kind of look better. They look cleaner, and I hope that kind of helps with my tournament pain points coming up here. I didn't want to do the resin thing because they chip really easy, and then they just kind of look retarded if they like are chipped. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
And
definitely.
this army is going to travel. Like I just invested in a battle foam case so I can take it back with me to California this summer for Quake City Rumble.
Nice,
Um,
that'll be fun.
yeah, I can't wait. Um, so, and then one of the foul guys commissioned me to paint his Dark Elf army. So I've been having adventures in stripping too, but even with acetone, I don't know. This guy like just primed the crap out of these models. Like the chainmail on his like Dark Elf Repeater Crossbowman is completely filled. Like, and then he varnished them. So like even in acetone, like the metal models, it's been a nightmare just to strip.
I mean,
Um,
it may take a couple layers in that case. Like you soak them in it for a little
yeah,
bit, like soak them in for 20 minutes, take them out, get off what you can, then put them in
yeah.
a fresh batch of acetone for
Oh,
another.
I've been doing that, and like there's still going to be just a couple remnants in some of the cracks that my toothbrush and toothpicks and metal scraping tools just can't get to.
Huh.
Um, it doesn't help that he tried it first and put a couple of plastic models in the acetone.
Oh dear God.
So like I've been like peeling off melted plastic off witch elves for a while.
Yeah,
Um,
whoever's listening, that is number one. Don't do.
yeah,
Acetone melts plastic. In fact,
yeah,
don't even use a plastic container. You need to use glass or
yeah.
like porcelain.
So, so that's been fun. But the metal models are finally like where I'm happy enough to start, you know, cleaning mold lines that he never even removed. So I'll just get some mold lines cleaned up, then tag. I don't even have any bases because he put the plastic bases in with the metal models.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's been an adventure. And I was hoping he would strip them for me because I hate stripping armies.
Yeah, it's annoying. And
Just hate it.
it's a wonderful little trip down memory lane, at least for what I've found, because like you go back to like, oh yes, when I was so young and naive and thought that repainting meant just repriming, and you just
Yeah, perfect. Let's do that again.
Primer.
Yeah, I want to tell this guy like, just get me new repeater crossbowmen because these things are a mess.
Yeah.
They are so thick. But
Something to think about for the bases. I mean, you can ask him what he wants. I mean, you know, obviously he has to pay you to buy new bases, but you know, if he's interested to pay, I mean, you have to buy bases anyway. You pay a little bit more. MDF bases are really slick. I just got a whole batch of them for my demons. The nice thing about them is they're edgeless. So
yeah,
with good
they're bevel-less, right?
Yeah, they're bevel-less. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they kind of drop straight down. So the cool thing about them, if you see some armies that have that, first of all, it gives you a lot more real estate to work with when it comes to doing like creative basing of your army.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, when they're all ranked up, especially like if you add magnets to them, they rank up really nicely, and you don't even see seams. So it makes it really easy to make it kind of look like a shambling like horde, which for my demons fits. It doesn't fit as well for elves, but then you know you can make them. It look I don't know. It just looks a lot better in my opinion as like a unit that just looks like it's sitting on the table,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
So yeah, that's a good idea. But I just reinvested in the GW plastic just because I was being cheap. And I had to do like, you know, I had to do like 10,000 points of high elves to get, you know, rebased.
Yeah.
And that's been fun. So I think like you saw the difference today. Like the slate really helps make the grays pop with the purple.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, my first reaction when I saw your army today, because you had told me that you know you had been lost points in tournaments before because your basing wasn't up to par, like for the appearance thing, so they dock you points on that.
Yeah.
And I looked at your bases, like these are pretty solid. Like no, these are the redone ones. Like oh, okay, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. I've got plans for if when I get back to my wood elves or even my beasts of chaos, is doing like a river scene. So like either like like beasts attacking a river defense or wood elves like holding the river, and then like the display board would be run. You know, would be a river scene, and then like having just like the stream flowing across a unit or like you know around the bases, just because I think it could look pretty sharp if done well.
Now, with that, a question would be that are you planning on like so for the models, obviously they're not like their feet are going to be in the river. So are you planning on like you know having them standing like ankle deep or like knee deep in the river for some of the archers or something like that?
Yeah. So stuff like that, or like having like Wild Rider splashing through, and then like you know maybe a block of Eternal Guard where they're like at the shoreline.
Right.
So the front ranks like ankle deep, and then it like you know gets lighter as they go up.
Yeah, that would look really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't want any Jesuses on your army walking on top of the water. That would look a little weird.
Yeah. Oh god. So that's kind of my hobby updates. Just working on this Dark Elf list, getting stuff painted. Oh, how's your Uthlan.net Secret Santa going? You're supposed to check in before they kick you out.
Oh, right. Yeah, I need to do that. It's been a work in progress. It's been a little bit slow. I haven't really been doing much hobby time at all.
Right.
Mostly because I've just, you know, like I said, in the middle of exams. You know, there's just a ridiculous amount of information they expect us to know. So I've just been studying nonstop. But I mean, I've been doing some preliminary, like, you know, converting. I know how I'm going to paint it, and it shouldn't take me long once I get into it.
Right.
It's not that much of a complex conversion. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm basically making him Perseus, essentially, Perseus elf. So it's through Ulthuan,
Nice.
so everyone plays high elves. So I'm using one of the plastic reavers from Island of Blood, giving it Pegasus wings, going to give him a circular shield, and I'm going to try to paint it up to be, you know, scrape off the bow and everything, scrape off a lot of the details, really kind of make it a lot more smooth. You know, make a elf with like a Perseus shield, you know, riding a white Pegasus, and you know, kind of play on the Clash of the Titans, the old school Clash of the Titans
Nice.
team with that. So
Nice.
I'm gonna see. I mean, figure he doesn't have one. He doesn't have any Eagle Princes or Eagle Nobles that I have seen in any of his army lists. So I think it'd just be something that it's fun. He doesn't have one, and he might decide to use it and be like, hey, I want to give this a try because it's a cool model.
Who'd you
Or
get?
maybe he'll never do it and just be like this model fucking sucks. Who knows?
I actually didn't convert my model. My guy like did not give me any kind of direction, and like his army like painting blog hasn't been updated in like a year.
Right.
And I was like, well, huh. And like this was my direction was I play high elves. I only need characters.
Well,
Well,
pretty open.
okay. So I just got one of those really cool, like I really liked and I wanted to paint him one. So I'm kind of guilty there. I guess it's kind of a conversion because I took that old school, I guess he's not even that old school, but that metal High Elf Lord or High Elf Prince with bow. Um,
Oh
you know
yeah,
what I'm talking about? Like the metal one.
yeah.
And I painted him up.
Oh, cool.
And then I'm working on attaching a bowstring and an arrow, so he's knocking it.
Nice.
I guess that's a mini conversion, but like, if you tell me paint a character, I'm going to paint a character.
Very simple directions. Did he at least give
Yeah,
you a color scheme?
what was that?
Did he at least give you a color scheme?
No, like the pictures are so bad, and like it was like blue and white. It's like wow, terrible.
Well, I mean that's what mine is too. It's just basically blue and white, which is
Right.
fine. I mean, I can still do a lot with that. I think he does silver armor, but for mine has Perseus, so it's going to be bronze.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's
I'm
he'll
actually
stand out well as a hero model.
yeah.
So
I'm
I
actually
mean,
using it. So like I had gotten the Vallejo Liquid Gold range just to try them out, and I haven't really found a model like it's kind of scary to experiment with something like that on like test models for an army.
right.
Like if this turns out terribly, I'm just gonna have to strip the whole thing because like this paint is really thick. It doesn't really hold like it holds paint over top of it okay, but not great. It's just
Hmm.
you just strip the whole thing. So this is a good way. Like I can experiment with it, see how I like it. If it doesn't turn out well, I mean it'll turn out well. It just may not be what I'm looking for in an army. And if that's the case, well, I mean, I'm giving it to somebody else. So I mean, it's a good way.
Right.
It's good. I love the Secret Santa because it's a great way to experiment with new techniques. And I mean, like if it doesn't work out, like it's still going to look good. It just may not be something you may want to duplicate for a whole army, which is fine because you're giving it to somebody else. So
Yeah.
if it's more work to make it look good, and you decide like no, this would drive me insane army wide, well,
Hmm.
it's fine. You're doing one model, and then you just don't do it for your entire army.
Yeah. Yeah. And then a couple of my friends and I in California, we did a Secret Santa amongst ourselves. And so I'm just finishing up an Avatars of War boar or Orc Warlord on a boar
Nice.
for that one, and that's a really cool model.
Oh
Um, he weighs about 4.5 pounds
yeah. Jesus.
of pewter, but like I even went back to the old school like drop pins in and then had to rubber band them shut for a night for the super glue set to keep that boar together.
Man.
Yeah, he was fun, but he's been cool to paint. Got to play with like some of that Corn's gore, or Corn's blood, or what? Blood for the Blood God. Such a good paint. The Citadel blood effects now. Yeah, and that's been fun.
Nice. I'll have to pick that up. I've never tried that. I have since Citadel redid their paint range. I've kind of been turned off by it because I mean their
Right.
paints are so expensive, and it's something that I'm not familiar with. I mean I still use Citadel metallics because I mean I think they're some of the best. Them and P3. But for my color range, I've just been using Vallejo recently because I mean it's consistent. You know what you're getting. It's basically like the old Citadel range that we all
Yeah.
learned to paint with. I just really it kind of rubbed me the wrong way when they started having, oh yeah, this is a base coat and this is a shade and this is a dry brush, and it's like, well, I'm gonna do with my paint what I want to do with my paint. Like, don't tell
Oh,
me.
it's designed for, remember, like they design everything around just newer players
Right, exactly, and that kind of rubbed
in
me
the
the wrong
hobby.
way. So
I mean, I like it because I can't see color, so I can at least read. However, it was fine until they did the new range, even though they added more layers. Was I don't know what's the difference between Teclis blue and Lotharen blue, huh? Um, and they did Rhinox Hide or Mornfang Brown.
Wait, so
Uh,
can we call timeout then? So you literally see in 50 Shades of Grey.
oh heck yeah, baby. Actually, I've seen like 2 shades of gray. Um,
Fair.
fair enough. So, adventures in painting are always fun for me.
Yeah.
It's a lot of guesswork and a lot of like, does this look good? Um, Sending pictures to people and stuff like that.
It's a good thing you're married.
Yeah.
Just be
Um,
like, hey,
yeah,
hey, honey,
does this
is
does
this the same color at all? No.
no?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, if she loves me enough to label my polos, black, blue, purple, black, blue, gray, then she helps me with my paints.
It's at least nice.
Yeah. I guess that should do it about for the hobby. Kind of, basing.
Yeah.
You're starting to slowly strip.
Slowly stripping away and gonna get that
Just
Super
keep
Saiyan
stripping.
done. Yeah, man. I'm an expert at it, man.
An expert. So, you don't even own an End Times book yet, do you?
I have Nagash and I have Glotkin. My girlfriend got me Glotkin for my
Oh, right.
birthday.
You
She
stole my
likes.
copy of Glotkin, jerk.
I still have your like army book of Glotkin, but I have my own copy of the entire book now.
Right.
I was actually really impressed. Like I mentioned it to her once, and be like, "Oh man, they sold out really quickly." Next thing I know, I get it for my birthday. She apparently went on eBay and like picked one up for me, so it was really nice of her. So yeah, I have both of
Awesome.
those. I just finished reading The Gash. Now getting into the story of Glotkin, and we'll be doing Kane after that.
Excellent. So I am a giant nerd, and God, I've gotten all 3 of mine on pre-order.
Nice.
Because, like I said, giant nerd. And I've read through the stories. The stories are actually really good so far. This is kind of like old school GW writing. Um,
Yeah.
that the Kane book was so as a High Elf player. This High Elves were my first army since 5th edition. It's really weird to think of Malekith being like the Phoenix King.
Yeah, that still sits with me
But
sadly at night.
yeah, I mean, but you have to remember that this is supposed to be like the end times, like come the apocalypse. Um, will we actually finally reunite? And it's like, yep, apocalypse is here. Um, Peace is coming to the Middle East and the Warhammer world. Type deal. So I think they respected the story. I think they did justice to the characters. I'm trying not to spoil this too much.
Yeah.
Like I'd love just to draw mad spoilers and soak up the nerd rage. Um, but yeah, it was a good story. And then the rule set. What do you have you? We have only played a little bit of End Times, but what do you think of the rules as a whole?
I as we mentioned in the last one, I love the new magic. The magic is actually really cool.
Hmm.
I do not like 50% lords, just because, I mean, the reason I started Warhammer and the reason I've never been tempted by the other games like Wormhole
Right.
Hordes or anything like, or Malifaux or anything like that is because I like armies. Like,
Right.
I want to get to a table and for there to be like 100 models on the table each side and just have 2 armies running at each other. And like, that's the reason I hate the Warriors of Chaos book. That is the sole reason is because they have core chariots and
They have
we
like
don't play
10 models in an army.
exactly, and like it's kind of customary in I guess every tournament scene that I've ever seen around the country. I mean, around the world for that matter. It's I guess Australia plays it a little bit, but scenarios are pretty rare, and scenarios where you need sometimes they play scenarios with fortitude, but BSBs and characters count as fortitude. So you have a powerful lord, and he can claim a table quarter, for example. There's not much in terms of needing a rank or a banner to claim objectives to kind of balance it out. So because of that, the Chaos Chariot army has become a thing, and I just really that
Yeah.
is the like it really rubs me the wrong way, just because that's the opposite of why I started Warhammer.
It's
Like
not, it's not even like the power level of the list. It's that it just does not look like it belongs on a Warhammer table.
yeah, no, exactly. It looks
Right?
like you're
Yeah.
playing Horde
Okay.
Hordes. Like
I feel you. Yeah.
I want to play an army,
Or
So,
40k, you're playing against like 5 tanks.
exactly. I just really don't like that. So I mean that worries me. But the one bright side at the end of the tunnel is it seems that with this edition, even ETC is starting to be like, all right, fine, we need scenarios.
Yeah.
And so if ETC adopts it, I feel like a lot of areas which they kind of look to ETC to kind of set the standard for a lot of their tournaments in some
Hmm.
regions,
Right.
and like set the standard of like, okay, the reason many places don't do scenarios is because ETC doesn't. And I'm not saying that's true everywhere, but a lot of places that is true.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
you
on the
know,
West Coast, we do a lot of scenario play where it's not like your win is did you complete your mission or whatever. It's where it's the completing an objective or scenario or side mission is directly reflected in either a couple extra like tournament points or battle points,
right,
or victory point bonus.
right,
So I actually really enjoy those because you could, with your Warriors of Chaos list, 20-0 every single person, but the guy that's kind of sitting behind you at a 15-5 every game, if he completes most of his objectives, he's going to push you pretty hard for, overall in general.
oh yeah, definitely.
Hmm. So I think that gives it, a little more balance to army building too, and characters don't always apply forward to. It's just your general and BSB. Um,
Yeah, no, yeah, just a general in the BSB, but I mean that's still sometimes enough, if you only use
right.
certain objectives. So I mean, actually, like we've been using this kind of as an impetus on Universal Battle. A buddy of mine is running a tournament. Which did you enter that tournament, Joe, or Malathar?
I'm not. I don't know if I don't like to commit to things unless I 100% know that I will have the time to complete them.
Well, it's not like a
Um,
one-day thing.
yeah.
It's over a couple weeks. You had just to like play like one game every week or every 2 weeks.
Right.
With your opponent, you set a schedule, so it's
Hmm.
pretty flexible, which is why I committed to it. But basically, like we're using. I'm not sure if 50% lords are allowed or banned in this, but it's Swede comp. There's a comp banned, and
No special characters.
no special characters. A big portion of your victory points, though, can come up to 750 points can come from objectives, and
Yeah.
every objective requires a unit with a rank and a banner.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's going to throw in a lot more. Like I mean, even my demon list had to change a lot because I suddenly couldn't take flesh hounds and claim objectives. I needed to take blood crushers and claim objectives.
Right.
So like, that affects my comp, and that affects the way I play the army. You just see a lot of new things because a lot of the really powerful stuff, like chimeras and beasts of Nurgle, and crypt horrors, can't carry banners. So you can take them, but then you might be surrendering 750 victory points at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So we've been experimenting with that with scenarios. So like I think go kind of circling back to get back on topic. I think stuff like that could make the n times 50% lords not as significant if you're kind of comping those overpowered like 75% characters by making objectives important where it's contributing a
Hmm.
significant chunk of your it's basically a significant chunk of victory points to the game.
Right. I mean, everybody laughs at Watchtower as a joke scenario, but like, oh, you have a flying demon prince? That's cute. I win.
Right.
Or 6
Exactly.
chariots? Yeah. Sorry, you should have built an army that could handle the Watchtower scenario.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and that's an extreme example. Um, but yeah, I think scenarios should just help with your. I've always been one to advocate for light comp, that the scenario should dictate your army list comp. You know what I mean?
Oh no,
So
I
you
think that would
know,
be a way more fun way to do it.
hmm than just a strict ban list.
Yeah.
Um, so now, what do you think about? So Glocken didn't have really any super game-changing rules, did it?
No,
No.
not that I mean, aside from merging chaos, which
Yeah.
leaves its own door open for some brokenness, but
Yeah. How about a 3-up ward save flying Doombull? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I was more well. I mean, back when we still had 2d6 magic phases, the suddenly the herdstone spam, you get a Bray Shaman with a herdstone, and you park 4 units of 10 horrors around it.
Yeah, that's
That was
kind of
just that
retarded.
was disgusting. Like I saw one game of that, and it was like, oh, so you have two 3-up ward characters, one of whom is a Doom Bull,
Yeah.
and you have basically an extra 7 power dice a turn. Great, this is fun. This is
Yeah.
fun.
I mean, you still get that though with a Hearthstone, you know?
Yeah, but it's less significant now, which I guess is a good segue into Magic.
Uh-huh. So we talked a little bit about this in our escalation ramble chat. But Magic, for those of you who don't know, it's now determined by 46. Dispeller gets the 2 highest dice, which we've tried it today. We played a couple games and we really enjoyed it, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, so another major change is you don't get to pick. Well, I mean, you get to pick basically before you have to declare a spell, declare a target, and declare if you're boosting it or anything, if it has a boosted range, like for Fireball. You have to
Right.
declare small, medium, or a large Fireball. Then the caster has to roll a d6. That's the maximum number of dice they can use to cast. So if you declare Dwellers and you roll a 1, well, you can use only 1 dice to cast that spell. You can also spam cast, which means if a spell goes off, you can cast it again. But that means that if a spell doesn't go off, you can't cast it again. So, it adds a lot of tactics to the Magic phase, both in terms of weighing, okay, how many dice do I need to get the spell off reliably? Did I roll
Right.
that? If you don't roll that, well then, you have to eat a dice, and suddenly the gap between casting and dispelling is a lot smaller.
Mhm.
So, and then, there's the whole thing of, well, as the dispeller, you're looking at it, and okay, my opponent got off this fireball, for example, and normally that might be a spell you're going to let through. It's like, oh yeah, D6 strength 4, that's fine. But because you can cast it multiple times, it's not just D6 strength 4, because every time they cast it, it means they can cast it again.
Mhm.
And so it just kind of adds more, like, you're not looking at a spell of, do I want to let this one spell go off? It's like, well, do I want to let them keep being able to cast this spell, or do I want to just prevent them being able to do it again? So,
Right.
like today, for a little anecdote, I was playing against a Wood Elf list with a whole lot of Lore of Life. And he cast Flesh to Stone on one of his units of Dryads, and they were out of combat. And it was one of those situations, it's like, well, I don't have to charge this unit of Dryads. I mean, they'll be toughness 8 next turn, because he had thrown up. They'll be toughness 8 next turn, and I mean, I could just choose not to charge them. Fine, like I can just magic them, like see what I can do that way. But if I let him get it off, then his next cast can be at casting the same spell on his Treeman Ancient, who was in combat with my Bloodthirster. And in that situation, well, I obviously don't want that to go off. So I mean, I tried to dispel the first one because it could stop the second one. And so it adds a lot more to the phase. I mean, it basically, I didn't want the spell to go off on the bigger guy, so I got 2 attempts to try to stop him from getting it there. So,
Right.
But because of that, I was using a lot more dice. And by attempting to dispel the first one, I was potentially losing dice to dispel the second one. So it adds tactics to both ends of it.
Yeah, and then I think it's worth pointing out is that there were a couple rumors flying that you're now, broken concentration's gone. So if you fail to cast a spell, you can still keep casting. But what a lot of people don't realize is not enough power is still in effect. So you still have to get a 3 to actually cast a spell.
Right.
Where I think the guy Kevin's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, oh no, that's gone now. No, it's still in there. Not enough power still in there.
Yeah.
So we're not going back to 7th edition vampire counts throwing 1 dice at invocation and hoping for the best. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Which, I mean, yeah, especially to kind of emphasize the point about what I was talking about. So you said invocation, reminded me, like, when you're playing vampires, you can let them get off the invocation once, they'll get 2d6 zombies. You think, oh, that's not that bad. Then they can cast it again. Now they're getting 46 zombies. And so, like I said, it just adds a lot.
Right. And then, I took a Lore Master today, which was kind of stupid. Lore Master of Hoeth. And a caveat of this in the Escalation League video too is I did not know that we were going to be playing End Times Magic today. I just took my 2,500 point Swedish comp list, and lo and behold, we were playing Escalation League, and then we were playing End Times Magic. So my Lore Master had 56 spells.
Yeah.
Was it 56?
It was, 7 times 8.
Yeah.
Definitely 56.
Yep. Sure was. So 56 spells, which was a little overwhelming at times. I mean, poor me, right?
Yeah.
Gosh,
Boo-hoo.
56 spells to choose from. But it was fun. I mean, he wasn't super overpowered or anything.
Yeah.
He just had a lot in his back pocket to throw. Now, I will say a Slann with 56 spells plus the additional 8 for what would you call it?
I don't know. What do you call it?
For end time spells.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's kind of retarded. Plus, he's at a level 4.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah, so
but I mean the end time. I mean, what I found in my two games is like those bigger spells. Like I mean, the biggest spell I had 2 units of horror, so the biggest spell I
Right.
had was Gateway, which is
Yeah.
16 plus, which still isn't that high. But what makes it because of that D6 you have to roll before. I mean, it's not really reliable to
Right. To actually get
get
that
off those
spell
big
off.
spells. Like I mean, I was playing 5 Lore of Life casters today, and he got
Mhm.
off Dwellers once. Once.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're a +4 to cast too, it really helps, even if you only get 4 or 5 dice.
Right, but I mean, one of them
Uh,
was a level 4 though, so
mhm.
you know it was one of he would try to cast. He tried to cast Occam's once with he had Drycha, who's Lord of Shadow. Tried to cast
Mhm.
Occam's once, used 6 dice, or I think he rolled a 5, and so he wasn't able to get it off. It's level 2, or I think she's level 3. Regardless, he didn't get it off. So
Yeah.
you know, instead of just chucking 6 dice at a spell and being like, oh look, I got double sixes, he didn't get a full 6. So the chance of succeeding
Mhm.
was a lot lower, which was nice.
Yeah. And it's also nice that all of the end time spells are 15 plus or more, so
Hmm.
you can't spam them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because could you imagine? It's actually really funny. Is I was watching a game on Universal Battle the other night where it was Tyrion, like with the Widowmaker fighting Night Goblin list, and his shaman stole Widowmaker from Tyrion, which was awesome. And so you have a Night Goblin shaman just like token out on Widowmaker
That's
for the
amazing.
rest of the game. Oh, it was amazing.
That's so amazing.
Nick it, Nick, it's a great spell. Anyway, so yeah, Magic's good. Now let's talk about the actual special characters.
Oh
Um,
God. Okay.
this
Whew.
is the only part I do enjoy them. The only part that I could see this actually not making into tournament play is the special characters, because
Oh
these are a return to fifth edition style special characters. I
oh,
think.
yeah. Complete hero hammer.
Right. They're good. They're great. They're great.
Yeah.
I don't think the Kane ones are okay. They're not super awesome, but they're not Carl Franz Ascended. But now that being said, is these lists and these characters and the end times in general are designed for super big battles. So
Right.
you think about it, like yeah, Carl Franz is great. Well, I'm gonna go park some spearmen. Give him not many good things to charge, and they can tie him up for a couple of rounds.
Right.
And now you think Carl Franz isn't that scary if a lore master can just be chucking, Occams on him,
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
you know, and still have access to other magic. So I think that as the end times rules are coming out, like I think this magic really helps against these characters, um,
Definitely.
because it just gives them a way to counter that too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially because everyone's a lore master now, so you don't have
Right.
to get lucky and roll the spell you need. You can count on getting the spells you need by taking the lore you need.
Yeah.
So like, which
For
is
Arcane and
nice.
Forging.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So like you can count on that, and so now like some games where like, okay, I really, really need, but you're facing Bound of the World Dragon, I really need Dwellers Below. Well, I have it now. I'm taking Lore of Life. I have Dwellers Below. Great. Now your White Lion or Bound of the World Dragon White Lion unit isn't quite as scary because I'm going to
Hmm.
be killing a third of them every time I get the spell off, and I may not get it off every turn. 'Cause I may not
Right.
roll a 6, but over 6 turns, I'll probably get it off once or twice, maybe.
Yeah, and at least make them ineffective.
Make them vulnerable.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I can actually see the magic being adopted. Maybe not the end time spells or summoning an arcane fulcrum, but I
Right.
could actually see them adopting the 4d6 magic phase,
Oh yeah, I could see that.
which would be pretty fun, I think.
No, I think
Um,
it would. I think just people need to. I think the thing with
you just gotta
fantasy.
play it. It's like when eighth edition came out, everybody was super ticked off, but you just gotta play it, and then you realize, yeah, this is pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I think it comes from the fact that a lot of fantasy players are older people, and the older we get, the less we like change, and I think that as a fact that's a factor in terms of how people respond to a lot of these game rules changing, meta shifting
Right.
adjustments that Games Workshop is making. But I mean, if you try it out, I mean, like I said, I actually had more fun in this Magic phase than I think I've ever had. Like, even though I only had, 2 Tzeentch casters, it was just a lot of fun to try to manage it.
Yeah. Plus, when you got into combat, and you had one hex to cast.
Yeah, that was a little bit interesting.
um, what do you think about combined armies? How do you feel about that?
I think this kind of goes into what I was saying earlier. If you adopt scenarios, it won't be that bad.
Right.
I think I don't. The thing I don't like about it is I don't like the look of it. I don't. I think high elf models with dark elf allies would look really weird. However, it opens up so many conversion opportunities and themed army options that I mean, I'm willing to overlook that if people are like, I feel like a lot of gamers, especially people that are top tables of the tournament, where especially in tournaments, a lot of times they have a pretty significant on the appearance metric. With stuff like that, you'll see really well converted armies, and for that, I'm excited about. I don't think it breaks the meta because, I mean, basically, I think by allowing more armies access to more good options, I think if anything, it's opening up the field. I don't think many armies are going to find the pigeonhole net list as
Right.
easily as you will with an army book which only has 16 options. It's much
Hmm.
easier to be like, okay, this is overpointed, this is underpointed. I'm not going to take this. I'm going to take this, and this is my Lord build. Now it's, I mean, some options are completely losing out, but you're combining the best of both. So for the elves, for example, you know, how do I want to use my elf army? Do I want to have a bunch of Glade Guard like the what elves have and have a shooty list? Do I want to take a Silver Helm bus instead and have a unit supported by Wild Riders that I can shove down your throat? There's more build options with these combined armies.
Yeah. It does. It is a little frustrating though for I think some elf players, especially just because I know elf players, a little better than I know every other player. I think, and where you think, okay, well, a prince is never going to be taken now. Like, why would you ever want to take a prince over a dreadlord?
Right.
Um,
Which is fair.
which is fair. You have they do the flying circus better with Dark Pegasi being much better than Eagles.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then even though
Yeah.
the prince gained murderous prowess, like, eh, why would I not take a Sea Dragon cloak?
Yeah, exactly. The game
You know what
breaker
I
is
mean?
easy access to one up armor.
Yeah, like on foot.
Yeah.
um, and then you think, my BSB actually, you could stick with the noble, like a high elf noble, just because, having the Fireborn on your BSB is never a bad idea.
Or,
Starlance is a solid weapon on a noble.
or Bound of the World Dragon.
Banner of the World Dragon, like, need we say more?
Yeah.
Um, and then do you think like the high elf chariots are all gone?
I think
Dark elf
so.
chariots are just better.
Yeah.
Um, like even if elves don't really take their chariots anyway, but why would you ever take a lion chariot over a cold one chariot?
Oh yeah, better armor save. Not that I think. Are they even less points? Or are they more
They're
points?
less points, yeah, by like
Less
five
points.
five
Better
points or
armor
something.
save.
Maybe 20 points, yeah.
You lose on
3 up
one
armor.
one
They're
pip.
tough 5 instead of tough 4.
Yeah, you're losing one pip of movement, and you don't have stupidity. But no, most elves don't have that much of a problem with stupidity.
Yeah. Oh, and you gaze scything wheels.
Yeah, because
So,
elves in Ulthuan apparently can't figure out how to put spears or swords on the edge of their axles,
yep.
and that's
No.
apparently just doesn't happen in Ulthuan. I don't understand.
Well, because they're good guys. And that's, they get too much blood on their robes. Makes their shoes dirty.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, and then like Reavers, why would you ever take Reavers now?
Right.
Like Dark Riders and Glade Riders are just so much better.
No, definitely. I mean,
Um,
there's definitely stuff in each army, each combined army that loses out, and you probably
oh
won't get
yeah.
much of. But I think you make up for that by the fact that there's just so many more options. You're going to see more varied builds, even though you won't see every unit because you've never seen every unit.
Hmm.
But by combining the armies, I think you'll see, I think, less min-maxing and more balancing your good choices.
Right. I get that. But do you really want to see, Warriors of Chaos Chariot parking list with 2 skull cannons?
No, I don't want to see that. But I think the tournament scene will probably take care of that in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form.
And like we said too, like I've always held like as a Lord of the Rings player. So to give you guys some background, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I promise it's gonna work. Okay, so bear with. So Lord of the Rings is a small skirmish game by GW, and it's a great game. It's an awesome game. They went a couple years ago to push the War of the Ring, which is like a massed battle for the Lord of the Rings like models. And it's a great game. It really works well until you get tournament players, and this was tournament players, who don't give two craps about the story or the fluff or what makes sense, and we're trying to break the game. So you had, because they were like, well, these are Lord of the Rings players, we don't need to set a whole bunch of restrictions in the rulebook. You'd have stuff like Aragorn, Elendil, Gil-galad, you know, they, Boromir, all in one unit, and that's characters spanning 3,000 years of history that never existed in one unit in the War of the Ring because you could. And so my point is that yes, you can break the game, you can break end times, but if you're just playing to have fun, you're never going to break the game. And
Yeah.
that's my point about the whole campaign thing. Is one, the tournament scene's going to fix it to make it a balanced, competitive game. So tournaments, I'm not even worried about playing end times in tournaments. Like, it'll work itself out in the scene.
Yeah.
And then two is when I actually play real end times or uncomped end times. It's just being, okay, I'm not going to be a dick. You're not going to be a dick. Let's take a ton of points and just see what crazy stuff happens in this game.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%.
And that's why I'm excited for end times. And one is everybody, the internet for years has been frustrated that the fluff never advances. The storyline is, never moving forward. We're always stuck in the same spot. Well, here's here's the story time ending forward.
Yeah.
Um,
You could say that. How many characters have died? Major characters?
yeah, I mean, I love that there is no fluff armor.
Yeah.
Does it matter that you have a cool model? Nope. Eltharion the Grim gets turned to dust by Archon. Doesn't even matter. Tyrion, yep, sorry. Oh, I shouldn't spoil that. You know.
Well, I mean, I've been excited reading about that. Like when Volkmar, it was Volkmar, right? Who was
Yeah,
it?
Volkmar gets his head cut off in the
It was
sacrifice.
cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, between Volkmar,
Kurt
there's
Helborg gets killed off in Glocken.
yeah, exactly.
So
Like all these characters are just dying off. Also Thoric, which I was
did
not
not see
sad to
coming.
see him go. No, not sad to see him go at all.
No. Still, I'm still getting over the abuse, from seventh edition Anvil. So
Yeah,
yeah,
seriously.
he can go die in his hole.
Yeah, that was a cool scene though.
It
Uh,
was.
I also am interested to see what they're going to do in terms of the fluff with Lore of Death and the Empire, because it kind of makes they're kind of painting it that Lore of Death is now frowned upon, and it's the what is it? It's the what college is it? It's the
Amethyst.
Amethyst College. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Amethyst College is kind of being disbanded. They've been like ransacked. The witch hunters came out. There was that really awesome scene in Nagash during Battle of Helfengen, where one of the characters, mages, just comes out and just throws a 6 dice purple sun straight at the Warriors of Chaos.
Oh, that was awesome.
Awesome. And I love having when I'm reading the stories as a caveat. I love having this like the gameplay analogy in the back of my mind,
Yeah.
like during that scene of like 6 dice purple sun, and like
Jumps into the hole.
I just love that in like the back of my head. But like he did that, and then as soon as that happened, well, his soldiers turned on him and killed him because it doesn't matter that he helped, stem the chaos charge. He's a necromancer clearly because he's using the Amethyst College magic.
Yep.
And so it's going to be interesting to see if they lose that lore going forward, which seems very probable at this point.
Yeah. And then I just, I gotta say that I love Vlad von Karstein and all of his shenanigans
Oh yeah,
through the first 2 books. And then in Kane, Emmerich is awesome. Emmerich and Olethanar really drive the story for me, which is cool.
yeah. I haven't read Kane yet. It's still in the mail. Last I checked. I had to get that off of eBay because Gladkin I wasn't going to get off eBay. I'm really happy that my girlfriend got it for me. But Kane, because one of my armies is elves, and they were my second army I've ever painted. They also have a very special place in my heart. So Kane was obviously a must-have for me.
Yep. That's why I got it. It's my first army being high elves, my second army being wood elves.
This is right
Now
up your alley.
also have dark elves, so play all 3. And
now you
that's
can
also
pick-
kind of nice, is I can play them all in the same army.
Yeah.
Which is what also not just tournament points, kind of spurred this whole, basing change, was let's get all my elf armies on the same bases.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that would look good. And I mean, like we have the advantage of playing in this escalation where we can use the end times and see what we can do. Um, I have a Beastman army that's been collecting dust. When I was, I guess, like 13 or 14, I won a raffle at a Games Workshop store where they were giving away a free army of your choice. So I
Right.
just built a 1,500-point Beastman army, and so I have like all these Beastman models just sitting at home that like I've never painted because like one thing led to another, and then I was off to college, and they stayed at home. But now I can bring them out and I can paint them up and have fun, and maybe I can take a big block of Minotaurs in one of our like higher points games for this escalation league.
Yeah, because I mean, and that'd actually be nice since you'd have non-magical attacks in the army.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be really nice.
Yeah, for when I pull the banner on you, just to be a jerk.
You would do that.
I would. Um, so yeah, I think it. I'm really excited for the end times, and I'm glad that that GW released this.
Yeah, no, I mean it's very exciting, both in terms of gameplay and in terms of fluff.
Yeah. So,
So
do you have an idea for your 3,000 point list in mind?
I have an idea. It'll depend a lot on exactly how much time I have with painting. My ultimate goal is because this is completely uncomped. I would love in 3K to instead of a Bloodthirster take Scarbrand,
Hmm.
which is just like such a fluffy choice. I mean, he's ridiculously high point. He's like 630 points.
That walks.
He walks. He doesn't fly. So that's a big minus. But he gives hatred to everything on the table. Friends and enemies doesn't matter. Everything is hatred, which is just like so much fun. like,
For sure.
so I mean, if I have time for that, I'd like to. I mean, Scarbrand is wants to be. I want that to be a project of mine that I don't rush, and I want to sculpt it straight, start to finish. Just make it a fully sculpted model that I do,
Right.
and come out of it with a model that's 100% unique, and paint it up as best I can, and just use that as kind of like a centerpiece for stuff like Brawler Bash and big games like that.
Right. So I mean, I was considering doing, 40 Phoenix Guard.
Whew.
It's 675 points with the Razor Standard and full command.
All right.
But I mean, like, why not, right?
Yeah, I might be taking a Tzeentch level 4 against you if that's or Tzeentch level 2 against you if that's the case. Lord metal.
I mean, just consider those Phoenix Guard with, getting murderous prowess, and martial prowess, so all 40 of them get to fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many did you take today?
I took 20, and that's kind of
Okay.
my sweet spot. In sweet combos, I take 20.
Okay. So just a comparison, you're talking about bringing 40 when you brought 20 to 1250.
Yeah.
So scale factor, you're an ass.
We're talking about bringing 40 at 3,000 instead of 1250.
Right, instead of bringing 20 at 1250. Scale factor, you're an ass.
Just wait till I put a level 5 high elf mage in there.
Yeah, man, next week. No, you're bringing a dragon next week.
Oh yeah, see, like this is what I'm talking about. We were joking because some people in this escalation league are not playing this for fun. Like I've seen some of their lists. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
clearly trying to break the game. Because I was talking to one guy, I was like, yeah, I mean, I could show up next week with a Star Dragon and a Frostheart Phoenix at 1,500 points. Do you really want to play me?
I have a Bloodthirster. I have a Bloodthirster and a cannon. I'll play that.
You'll play that? I mean, according to the store manager, all high elves now have Fireborn. So
Yeah.
we're being sarcastic. He didn't read the rule properly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we Malasar looked at it when he got home. Basically, the end times list just list every special rule contained by any unit in the combined armies list.
Right.
So, but I mean, by that extension, then every army in the Chaos Combined list has a Daemonic ward save, which obviously is not true. So yeah, he just misread it, which is fine. It did mean that my Skull Cannon didn't do much today because I assumed his
Well, yeah, just like I wasn't slinging fireballs into his dryads or
right,
anything. So
which is fine. Kept it close.
kept it interesting. All right, well, I guess that'll about do it for us, unless you want to add anything else, or.
Well, I think that just about does it.
So that's it for us here from Shadows of the North, guys, and take it easy, and we will talk to you soon.